Hello YouTubers, Troz here, playing some Factorio. It's been quite a while since I've made a gameplay video. Um, I'm back playing Factorio. Version 0.16 came out just before Christmas. I picked it up during the Christmas break and I've been playing on this world, and I have over a week's of playtime, so you see I have a bit of a problem. But I've went and made a really massive base this time, and I'm still expanding it. I'm trying for, at least at this point now, 1,000 science per minute, which also requires 1 rocket per minute. I think my previous best was a rocket every 10 minutes or so. So this is quite a step up from what I've done. And this base is quite a bit larger than any I've ever done. Unfortunately, I started the video at a bad time. It's just became night as I started. I didn't realize that. But let me show you an overview. As you can see, right now I'm getting 60 frames per second. The recording I'm doing is only 30 frames per second, but this is my main base. I'm standing here. Here's my trains. I think the original start of the map was about here, just below this lake. I've sucked up all the resources around here, or at least most of them. You can see I've left some small patches. But I have an extensive train network at this point, and the base has just grown and grown. And actually, when I zoom out this far, you can see my frame rate drops a bit. I'm really loving the artillery trains. They make good radars. You can see I've been using them to explore and take out biters. You can see there's trains running along here, depending on your resolution. Hopefully you can see that. We got a bunch of patches out here. I think I'm on a railroad. I actually don't remember the settings I used. But you can see the war patches are spread far and wide. But this video, I'm basically going to explain what I have done and what I plan to do, and maybe I'll have a follow-up showing the results. I actually really like this radar view because you can just zoom in wherever you want. But yeah, as I said, I think I started off somewhere around here. There was a coal patch here, which, well, I never picked up the miners from. So I set up my initial power plant over here. It's now off. Actually, it will turn on if my power ever drops. Let's say I don't think it has in the last 100 hours of gameplay, and just to show, I have a lot of save here because I've been playing this game for a while. See, I have 185 hours. I think this is one of my first games. You can see I started back on version 0.6. So yes, I have been playing quite a while. I have nearly 1,000 hours on Steam at this point, and I probably had at least 500 before the Steam version was made. Anyway, back to a quick explanation of what I've done. So I started off here. I think there was a ore patch. Oh, you can see the remnants of a iron patch. I think there was copper over here. There was copper over here. I don't even know where I got my initial stone from. I then later moved to this stone. This was the, I guess, closest decent stone patch. Too bad it was mixed in with some of this iron that I've never even touched. But I had my smelting over here. You can actually see where I removed some furnaces. My copper is, I guess, technically still there, still technically being used, but the way I have things routed, probably never gets anything anymore. And then I built a main bus and went up this direction. That was my initial red science. I did green science over here. Actually, you can see green circuits, red circuits. The green circuits is... I've been using a lot of blueprints. So, like, this is a blueprint I had from previous games. It's... Well, it's probably still okay. I know I later have a smeltering setup that is not quite as efficient as it could be, but still decent. I mean, at the point there, I didn't have robots, but I put the blueprint down and then went over things. You can see this is actually using yellow belts because that's probably what I had at that point. You know, then blue science, we got some pipes and assemblers and miners. But basically, I was rushing for bots, which I set up over here. And then once I got bots, I was kind of rushing for nuclear power. I didn't want to do solar, and I tried not... Like, I built this out, but I didn't want to go too much over here. For a while, though, I was really running at only providing half the power for my base that I really should have, as I was trying to get my initial nuclear setup. Eventually, here's my initial closest uranium ore patch, and I set up... I didn't even realize that this was still over here running. You know, set up a refining and actually a Corvex process after lots of research that I was probably, again, still at half power for. I did get attacked at one point, and a lot of my base, oh, I won't say a lot, but a decent, maybe a quarter of my base got destroyed. I built this, rebuilt that part of my base, and then got nuclear running. I actually took a blueprint off of Factorio prints and plopped it down here. Yeah, that one. So this was my first nuclear power plant. Made a few small tweaks to it. Mostly, I believe, you can see it's just a 4 nuclear plant. I believe you get 480 megawatts out of this with the bonuses. But the way this was piped, and mostly still is, I think, each quarter was separate from the other. So I know this is using the circuit network, so it should only run when the steam gets below a certain amount. But I noticed like one quarter would have like 1,000 or so, a few thousand, like here. Oh, that was a pipe. So like this is, all right. That one has 20k. Like I'm comparing the as 22, 21. 21. They're not that far off, but I put in like that pipe to technically connect these two sections. Probably should put a pipe in to connect these two, but there was a break over here I connected, and I put a pipe over here. So it should be fully connected so that if there's more steam in one side, it should even out, so you get to use all these turbines. You know, what I noticed was like one side had a few thousand more steam than the other, and so some turbines on the low side weren't actually running at all. But you can see at this point I'm way past one. I have a second, and even more than that. We'll get into that a bit. But basically, got a bus going, got a few different things. Oh, his was a big coal patch that, as you see, is now empty. Got actually, this is a blueprint I had. Let's see, like, actually, even including these, this is a blueprint this I added on just because I needed some more green circuits, but it basically builds all the inserters. But I think this was made, and the recipe has since changed because there's a few things, like these weren't set to anything. So I think stack inserters were a little different at the point that this was made, but it basically works out. How to modify stuff. This is a blueprint also I have from a while ago that I did not make, but it's blue circuit production. I actually then had to put in a second one. This is another blueprint here. This area for just all the parts for the modular armor. This is a blueprint I got off of Factorio prints for all the modules. As you can see, I've actually put it twice, and that's, well, I would say it's not enough, but the real problem is I'm not supplying it with enough red circuits. This is also a blueprint I got off of Factorio prints for all the belts. I was producing like a little bit of belts down here, but it's not quite fast enough. So, well, actually, it's down here, and I actually put a second one because I'm basically exclusively using blue belts at this point. And then eventually, I mean, this is all the science I had for, let's say, quite a while. All the way up to rockets. I actually built this. It has never launched a rocket. I let it go, well, I guess when I was close to getting a rocket, I'm like, well, I'm using a bunch of blueprints. Maybe I can find a good science blueprint. So I found this on, well, it doesn't look like this exactly because I modify it. Specifically, it had a few less labs, and they were all just had stack inserters between them. But you could see where, like, this one would not be running a good few seconds out of every minute just because science was being taken out of it. So I kind of modified this. I added 2 or 4 more labs, and everything's on belts now. But this was an all science blueprint. It's supposedly rated for 45 science a minute, which is pretty good. Well, I've since supplied it. I'll go into my trains in a second, or a little bit. It also may be somewhat outdated, because there was, I thought there was something here that wasn't technically needed, but maybe I'm mistaken. Like the recipe of something changed. I may be mistaken. I just might have. This is not the only one of these I have. So most of the stuff I have belted in, you can see, I think it's only bricks for the furnaces here that aren't belted in, and the furnaces go and supply these. But yeah, this worked out rather nice. I've made some tweaks to it. Like, I think this thing was missing some inserters here. And it didn't have the gears. It's expected you to have a separate belt of gears coming in. I, like, hey, I'm bringing over 4 lines of iron. I can make the gears. So, and you can see, it's not, well, It doesn't use modules. I've just put some modules in the gears so that they keep up. It probably can be laid out better. At least the gears that I added and all this. I tried... because resources are needed, you wind up with, different places, you wind up with some belt spaghetti. But, oh, here's my oil setup. This is also a... I've had this as a blueprint for quite a while. I didn't make it again. I came off of Factorio prints a while ago. It works great. It's got everything in the right ratio for advanced cracking. I had to put this down to non-advanced because with the amount of belts I've been making recently, I've been running low on lubricant. So having it produce a bit more heavy oil is useful. I probably can put these back at this point. This was my initial, and then once I decided, hey, look, I'm just going all blueprints. I put down one copy, then I needed more oil, so a second copy, and more oil, another copy. This is a big smelt array that I built on my own a few games ago. With the way belt compression no longer compresses with just arms, it's not really efficient anymore. I won't say it was really efficient at any point. I redid how these things belt in because it was not good. So now it's better, but still not great. This is iron, copper, and then a double one for steel that actually for a while, actually I'm still not using it as capacity. I'm probably only using half of what it can make, but then with later needs I actually have a second iron and a second copper. My train system, I don't like double-headed trains. Not that they're not real. Well, not that they're not realistic, because a lot of, at least passenger trains, are double-headed. But most cargo trains that I know of, not that I'm an expert on trains, have a single head and go in a single direction. So that's how I like to design my train systems. The only problem with that is you have to be really sure on your signaling. I will say I am better at signaling now than when I started this game. I haven't had a deadlock in quite a while, but I did have a few good ones, involving 10 trains. You don't want to know how many trains I have, and if this save completes, I will show you. I have a lot of trains. Right now, most of them are not doing anything because I haven't done anything in quite a while. Getting off topic, thinking of many things at once, but I'm talking about trains. So, basically built a station initially. One stop for every type of ore except iron, which I had 2 stops for, but eventually I made a second copper. So I got copper, stone, and it's close, so copper, stone, coal, iron, copper. I have a specific defense station. This is a double-headed 4 artillery train, and I have, this is what I call my construction train. This is for making outposts. It's got everything I need to make either an oil or a normal ore outpost, and it comes with 3 cannons, double-headed just for the speed. Not that it really needs it. All these trains, I'm running on nuclear fuel now, so they go quick. Here's oil. This is, everything else is 144 artillery. I mean, it's you call it 1441, but the second one is a artillery. The final one is artillery. But liquids, I do 1-2 artillery. Then I have a specific here uranium train that's obviously 2 ores, and then 1 fluid wagon for taking the sulfuric acid. So it loads acid here and unloads ore, and then at a station, where's I have this is well, technically this is not even belted. This is all done using bots, which I kind of went crazy. Well, I always go crazy. Like here's the train pulls up this way, loads the ore, unloads fluid. You can see it's still, it's about a third full. I have a waiting area for trains, so they can all wait here. These all have chain signals, so that as soon as the train pulls out, a train with the same type of ore can pull in. They're all, like the iron ones are set for iron depot, so they'll go to either of these, whichever one is free. Because I have these on here, like for the depot here, I have to say I have the wait until cargo iron ore is 0. That's usually also enough time to load these, because these really shouldn't be firing. Maybe at most 3 or 4, because a new small base popped up while this train wasn't there. This defense train, I currently have something like 34 different stops. No, this is not my defense. This is my building train. The defense train, which I have 2 of, go on a cycle through 34 different stops and bombard anything. In the you can see this is all clear. I don't even think those are really there. I mentioned my bots. I'll just a bot can get most of anywhere in my base. Then I'd have just little separate networks for repair and minor fixes. Basically, they got little chests here, mostly walls and lasers, and a few repair items. And of course, there's a bunch of repair kits and some bots. I usually leave about 25 in each area. Back to when I was saying I had blueprints. So I built this up, and this though needs. Actually, I think I built this up afterwards. But anyway, I needed space science. Actually, I built this up, but before it even finished, I'm like, let's build, because this, I literally had 1 assembler of each. You can see, actually, here's all the assemblers, and I had a satellite builder. I knew this was going to take forever. I'm like, let me find a good blueprint for doing rockets, and I found this. This was labeled as a 10-minute rocket blueprint, and it's pretty good. I mean, this isn't the exact blueprint. I've upgraded it. But basically, it's, everything here. I put down some extra speed beacons, and then I built these 2 smelter arrays. It's the same blueprint basically as I used back there. And I have these train stations, and this works out pretty good. I have a few trains. Should be at least another copper train or 2, but whatever. It does use a lot more steel, iron, I should say, although a lot of it gets turned into steel. But we got 2 iron trains, 2 copper trains, a coal train, and an oil train. It all comes up here, and at first, the what are these? These are processors, whatever they are exactly. No, can't click on them in map mode. But at first, these were the hold up, so I think it initially ended like here, maybe here. I added additional until basically we couldn't supply blue circuits anymore, which because they're embedded right in the middle, not very easy to get to, or to increase the amount. I think with a few tweaks to how green circuits were being made, I got the blue circuits up a little bit. At some point, the red circuits were a little bit of a backup, so you can see I got some extra plastic and green circuits so that these last ones, even if everything else was going full tilt, would still have enough because they were only running some of the time. This does have all the modules already pre-placed. So once I got that increased, these computers, or whatever they're actually called, were then no longer the bottleneck. It was then the that's how I control units. It then became the low density structures, and I probably could have just stopped with adding 3 here, but I added 5 more, and actually a whole extra row of steel smelting because that was actually kind of holding it up at first. But yeah, now we're back to the rocket control units being the bottleneck. This hasn't actually launched in quite a while, but you can see I have launched it 351 times just doing research. It basically is automatically. I have this arm set to not run when there's more than 4,000 space science in my logistics network. So even though it's set to launch automatically, there's nowhere to put the space science, so it won't run until we run under 4,000. Yeah, so this worked pretty good. Like I timed it, and with the improvements that I've made, I reworked some of these belts, and removed a few bottlenecks, and redid the plastic here so that it. Previously, I guess on 15 this worked, and compressed this fully. So now I've not sure it's fully compressed now, but it's a lot closer to fully compressed than it was in just the base blueprint, at least on 0.16. I'm sure they're going to change the way belts compress still in the future before the 1.0 release. But like I said, yeah, this is now something like between 6 minutes and 6 minutes and 8 seconds. So I'm like, well, now we're producing a lot more space science than we can use. Then this, the rest of this can't keep up anymore, even with this running. Well, actually, initially I put the rocket, then I think I built this afterwards. So I'm like, why don't I build another base or sub base, that just supplies this. So that's what this is over here. We got all the ores, 2 stations for iron, another station of iron specifically to make steel. It's a little hard to see, but I took one of my blueprints, basically split it in half, so the top half makes iron, and then the bottom half takes that iron and turns it into steel. Initially it was 1 smelting array of iron and 1 of copper. But then I added a second and a half of iron and a second and a half of copper. So at the end of the day, I think we have 6 lanes of copper. And it's 4 plus these 2 or 3 come in, and we got 8 of iron. We got 1 lane of coal, although I mean we could do much more. We don't use much, and we got 1 lane of stone bricks coming this way, and we got oil. And 3, it was 2 for a while, but it wasn't keeping up, so I put down a third of the oil refinery, so that's actually 24 refineries, and that goes into 2 big green circuit productions, 2 blue circuit productions, and 3 red circuit productions. And then we got some batteries, and it all gets stuck on this giant bus. And originally it was going to 1 copy of the 45 per minute science, which I tweaked up. Maybe it was tweaked up to 50. And we certainly weren't using, well, I put 1 down. Before probably all the smelters, and notice, hey, wait, well, we still have it, we're not using quite all of it, so I put a second 1 down. Had to move these around when I redid the, they did originally fit in this space when they were just all the hand inserters passing stuff between, but when I redid it, I had to swing it around. So, you know, like I said, maybe these are 50, but once I put the second 1 down, well, then we weren't providing enough, so that's I think when I put down the second full here, and some more of these. Basically, I can barely supply both of these now with what comes in at the rate we're smelting. However, because it's off right now, I stuck more of these modules, because you'll see why. So, with now all of these running, now the rockets weren't keeping up. You can see that every time the rocket launched, it wasn't quite keeping up with the rate. So, well, let's just plop down a second rocket. So I took a big blueprint of that, and this is basically all identical. I put in a few more train parking rows over here, but all identical. So great. Now the rocket was keeping up, but now I'm like, well, we're technically down to 3 minutes per rocket. 1 minute per rocket is, that's the benchmark. But I realized, hey, if you're doing 1 minute per rocket, that's 1,000 space science. I've seen on the Reddit Factorio, Reddit, I should say, that some people are going for all science at 1,000 per minute. So I found a blueprint for that. So this is a blueprint for 1,000 per minute, all science except rocket. Although the same guy who posted this does have 1,000, rocket per minute blueprint. I'm not using that. I want to make multiple rockets. I misread though, and I thought it said it was using 2 8 trains, so 2 head and 8 cargo wagons. So I started designing stuff around that, when in reality it uses 3 8 trains. So I had to tweak all these stations to move everything forward. So that's why you see like some stations are closer than the other. Now, not everything is used or needed in the same ratios. So like, I believe this is iron and this is copper, and then well, we can point. This is coal. You can see it only needs 2 lines of coal. So I don't actually have a 2-8 train. I'm going to use my 1-4 train. So I stuck a separate station here, and this one I just calling empty. So the train will stop here, and the 4 will be more than plenty to supply these 2 lines. And let's see, this is batteries. Again, you only need 1 line of batteries and 1 line of blue science circuits. But then red circuits, you need 2 lines. Green circuits, you need 4. And then this is another iron. And we have here steel. And finally stone. Now, it has pipes, but apparently the guy who built this just had this pipe going off to his refinery. I am also going to pipe in the lubricant that is needed for the electric engines. And I went overboard. We're probably not. I could have gotten away with a 1-2 train, but 1-4 because, well, this needs to be supplied. So I've built, and I built up actually first before I stuck this down, a smelting system. Again, so I took the blueprint of the smelter that I have. That's, like I said, not quite efficient because it doesn't really pack the belt as much as it should be. And I put down 2 of them because I want this to take the 1-4 trains that I have and fill a 2-8 train for delivery to the big science. Luckily, the train parking arrays that I have actually are big enough to hold a 2-8 train, but like I said, it's supposed to be a 3-8. But so I have not 1, not 2, but I set up 3 of these. 3. Where's the third one? I set up a bunch of these. I have 3 for iron, 1, 2, and I did stick 1 somewhere else. Stone. Oh, right up here. I have 2 for copper. I have 1 for steel, which is basically 2 of these stuck back together, back to back. So it's the raw ore comes in and we make steel out. And then I set up 1 for stone, although we're not going to need stone that quick. But, you know, it's there, so why not? Then I set up, using another blueprint that I found at Factorio Prints, a copper green circuit production that takes iron and copper. Thank you for auto-saving. So we got iron, copper, and I'm hoping that these can make green circuits quick enough. If not, I do have room. Like, I could put 2 of these in a row. Everything's beaconed up. It should go really quick. But like I said, if it's not, I could put 2 of these in a row, because I don't think they make a full belt, and hopefully there's enough left over coming out the end here that I could put a second one if needed, and, you know, using blueprints, just move this stuff over. And then we got red circuit production that takes plastic, green circuits, and red or copper, and then we'll produce red circuits. Red circuits, I'm not worried about the speed of production, because this only needs, was like one of them. This is blue. Yeah, red. We only need a single line. So, and then blue circuit production, again, similarly, it takes green circuits and red circuits and acid, which I also, just like the lube, have in a 1-4 train. And again, this is a blueprint, fully beaconed. You know, and with the beacons and the productivity, you get bonus items out, so should be rather efficient. I guess I haven't mentioned it, but I have at least, you know, I have these parking things, but all my ore, like you can see here, this was my first train iron station, and all of them are set so that they disable themselves if they don't have enough ore, so that the train will skip it and go somewhere else. I really kind of should be renaming, not renaming, but I should have more than one iron one stop, but I have the train go like the depot iron 1, the depot iron 2, the depot iron 3, and then back in a loop. Like this one is not out. Why is that turned off? Ooh, you're... So the stations have, are... Again, this was initially someone else's blueprint. I'm not really sure what went wrong here. Maybe this box got broken and the bots replace it. But, you know, it is on the outside. Maybe that is what happened. This is designed with just these two circuit things so that the chests fill up evenly. It basically takes the average of items in the chests and then only has the arm operate if that particular chest is below average. So the chests fill up rather evenly so that the train gets filled up evenly. If the first chest fills up first, you know, and this has 2,000 and the train comes, well, only this arm is filling it up the train. It takes a lot longer. The thing is, the way I have this set up, you require a bit of ore so that there's actually a signal. So at first I was just using these chests. A lot of my newer ones. Oh yeah, you see here I have basically one stack in the chest. I thought that was it. Oh, that's coal 5. Let's go out here. I've been using the constant combiners just to output what would be one stack's worth. Really, it has to be more than the number of chests, and I have 48 chests, so 50 is just easy. But yeah, so for oil, I have a oil 1 is over here. Now, it still produces, but it produces slowly. So this is set so that if it doesn't have a full train's worth, it's not enabled. But I have another oil patch, possibly 2 other oil patches named oil 1. So the train will just go to one of them. Like here's another oil 2, even though that obviously wasn't my second oil patch. Here's a copper 2, here's an iron 2. Where is my oil 2? I don't even, like... Oh, here's oil 2 over here. So there's a second oil 2. And you can see the yield is way down. Like, at this point, if you don't have... Like, that's a decent coal patch. But there's, like... Oh, you're only 8 million? You're kind of not worth it. 13... At this point, like, it's got to be over 10 million, or I don't care about it. I think my largest patch... Well, here's a 62. I haven't quite gotten that far out yet. Oh, here's one of my artillery trains. Here's a 40. I think I have... Yeah, 52. 62. Although, you know, it's 43. Not quite though as many as I was hoping, but I guess, you know, hey, You gotta go if you need stuff. I'll still, oh, 2.1. That's not worth it at all. Was considering tapping these, but like here, this is a 12,000. Like 2,000? No. Here's you can see this is 52. I've been marking them, using the artillery to kind of scout out and then head to the largest patches. So yeah, I'm up to the point. So for this, I've showed, for the ore I got these smelters. I need oil, so I built up this large oil system. It's actually 8 of these all stuck down together. This is the holding tanks. I got 4 trains theoretically to fill it. This is oil holding tanks. This is petroleum gas holding tanks, and this is lubrication holding tanks. Actually, I initially put down 4 and then realized, hey, wait, my main base has practically 4 at this point, so let's double it. I get this plastic blueprint, so I will make 2 8 trains full of plastic. Sulfuric acid. I hope this is enough. We'll see. I'm hoping I overbuilt it. This is enough storage here to hold 2 trains worth of sulfuric acid. This is the loading station for it. And then I realized later, oh wait, I need lube. So I just piped everything in here, and then I just have a little filling station here. And I'm hoping it will be able to keep up with production. The plastic needs coal, so I will... How am I getting the 2-8 train? Oh, iron. It needs iron, not coal. That's sulfuric acid for coal. The plastic does need coal. So I have a coal station right over here. But yeah, sulfuric acid needs iron, so I'll have a 2-8 train move between here and one of the iron smelters. Yeah, so my plan is to set this up and hopefully get 1,000 signs per minute out of everything. Things I need to do: actually make the trains. Need to rename some of the stations. Basically, like this should be Smelt Iron 1, Smelt Iron 1, Smelt Iron 2, Smelt Iron 2, so the trains for this one always come back to this one, but they don't care which of these, whichever one is free they'll go to. But they don't like go over here and drop off, otherwise they'll always drop off at the nearest one as long as it's open, and then so like one will get favored over another. The iron pickups though, all 3 of them, I do want them to have the same name, so that then the train from here will go to whichever of the 3 currently is open. So it'll load up whichever one is currently open, and it might sit there for a while to load, but that will then just cause other trains to go to other ones to load. I'll need basically a train from iron to here, and then to the green circuits, and then obviously probably 2 or 3 over to here, just to make sure like that we have 2 that unload and at least 1 waiting. Yeah, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, but then obviously we have to do for green and red and blue circuits, all their things. So that's what I'm going to be working on next. So maybe in a week, who knows, I'll have another video out. Real quick, power. So yeah, I had 1 nuclear power plant at first that worked for quite a while. Actually, I had some biters cross over and actually start attacking it. That's why you see all the lasers around it. I set up a second one because actually at that time, again, I was starting to run low on power. But then as I started over here with this, I'm like, you know, let me just go crazy with the power, and then I stuck down 2 more right next to these bodies of water just for the easy water. And then I thought, well, why am I putting down only 4 power plants? That's not very efficient. You can make it much more efficient. So I found this blueprint. It didn't have the lights here. I added that. I basically reworked the timer for this. So, but this is a 12 power plant. This basically had a timer that would stick in fuel every 200 seconds because that's how long it lasts. But I'm like, I have plenty of power at this point. This is basically a backup, or the others are backups, however you want to think about it. I don't need power every 200 seconds. You can see actually, you know, it's only being a third used even with all this crazy buildup I have. So I stuck in a big steam reservoir. So if this drops below 12K and we hit 200 seconds, that's when it puts in. So you can see we're good on steam, which is what the little steam icon means, and that count is a count of seconds. It's really we're counting up and then dividing by 60 to get seconds because this ticks normally once a frame. So if the steam disappears when we hit 200, then we add fuel. There's enough steam capacity in the storage tanks that this could run at actually over 100%. Not that it could, but all of these turbines could be at 100%, and we won't go from having 12,000 steam to 0 steam in 200 seconds. You'd still have about you'd have a few thousand steam still. So we're not going to insert fuel. Notice none of these arms work, so we now count up to 200 again, and maybe then we'll be under. Yeah, then we'll be under 12, and then they'll power, and then this would go back up to 20 or something. But like I said, there's enough steam storage here so that even at all these going at full tilt will not take it from 12,000 to 0 steam in 200 seconds. There'll still be a few thousand. The only one problem is there's a lot of heat pipes here, so it takes a while. Like you can see, this is, well, these are all at 500 right now because it's been off for a while, but you can see these are a little over 500, but these are, well, it takes a while for all of the steam production to build up. Almost, like, I think it does take like 200 seconds for the heat to finally get over here. So if we do have a decent load, then all of these get used, but if we don't, they don't. But yeah, as this gets more towards 100% usage, you know, by at least 50% usage, all of these are getting hot enough so that they're all running. Yeah, so the only problem I have now, besides, you know, setting up all the trains and stuff, is I had 2 rockets. They're launching every 3 minutes. I need to launch a rocket every minute. So, I'm like, let me take another one of the rocket blueprints. And we don't need the smelting. We got the whole big smelting array now. So we now have 1 iron, 2 8-train input, 1 copper, 2 8-train input, 1 oil input, and 1 this is coal input. But that's not going to, I mean, that will bring us down to 3 rockets every 6 minutes, so a rocket every 2 minutes. We need to double that. Well, let's try literally doubling that. So this is the whole same blueprint flipped around, but with the rocket removed. Because with all these speed modules, this is waiting on materials. So we're now putting double the materials into it. And, well, it's untested. Actually, all of this new stuff is untested. You can see there's nothing on here. These haven't been really tested, although, I mean, I don't see what really can go wrong. My only worry with this is, I know this can keep up. I only hope that the satellite can. I mean, this is set to not launch without a satellite, but I'm hoping that this, because it needs like a few hundred things, and some of them are gotten with the long inserters, that, you know, I upgraded these were fast, I upgraded these to stack, but I'm just hoping that this can build, you know, get all the its needed materials in the 2 minutes. That this is now going to take 2 minutes, 3 minutes. This should take 3 minutes to do a rocket now, because getting the materials from 2 inputs. I mean, you can see this gets a 340% crafting speed bonus and 40% productivity, so it doesn't even need 100 copies. It needs, you know, 60 copies of everything, or 72, whatever it works out to be. So yeah, it's almost 3.5 times faster than it normally is. Yeah. So this, combined with the 2 existing ones, still isn't enough. But I want to do some testing before I make a copy of this and plop it down somewhere else. I just hope. Well, basically, I see my biggest problem as, you know, keeping all this fed. I'm starting to worry that my train network's not going to keep up. Most of my train network is one rail in each direction, but out here you can see I've done just 1 rail and little wait areas. It's all signaled properly, so the trains, the train will come here and wait until this is clear and then move. But that means, again, like down this section, only 1 train can pass at a time. But then, like, a train can be coming this way while a train comes this way. They'll pass here and then go on their ways. I just hope the network can keep up. Hey, if not, it's not the worst. I add a second rail, re-signal a few things, then we've greatly increased the throughput. Yeah, that's what I have right now. Like I said, hopefully I'll have another video. Still night. In a week or so, showing how things went. I'm gonna add some trains. Maybe I'll start with this rocket system. Add some trains for the smelters. Add some in for the rocket. See how that goes. Yeah, all my researches are way into the extra, beyond infinite research range, let's say. This stops at 15. I'm up to 33. Yeah, actually, this isn't even bad. Let's just kick everything off while we're here. My bonuses are not that. Here are the bonuses. Productivity is up to 64% above. You got 160 robot followers just because I didn't realize it was that high. I was going to stop at like 100. So how's science going now? Yeah, you see these things are pulling in, sucking down all the science. I mean, it's probably going to take a few good minutes before you can see this even tick over at all. Yeah, this video has gone on almost an hour now. So I'll say thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Oh, just missed the rocket launch. bad you don't see him on the maps here. Where's the... We probably launched at the same time too. So we dropped under... yeah, now we're at 5.2k and we're still unloading. You can see how fast this thing works. Well, see you guys next time.